and I take the political science and international relations optional here, and also the related content from the general studies. Today we will be discussing a very important topic, that is the Indian polity and governance. The importance of Indian polity and governance is same in the civil service examination as the importance of biology in the medical field. The Indian polity and governance in the prelim syllabus constitute of these following topics. These topics are most importantly covered under the Holy Constitution of India. Then the political system, Panchayati Raj, public policy and rights issues are those topics that we have to particularly focus upon in this preparation. Now, if we look at the number of questions that are being asked in Indian polity and governance, that is represented through this bar graph. Generally, we study any subject without going into the analysis of the previous year question papers. But whenever you are preparing for any exam, go for the analysis of the previous year question papers, because the previous year analysis will tell you which subjects to focus upon, which topics to focus upon, and which topics to give priority to. When you look at the Indian polity and governance questions, you have seen that in the 2021 paper, 20 questions are asked from Indian polity and governance. In 2020, 18 questions, 19, 13 questions, 18 again 13, then 23 questions, 7 questions, 13, 12 and 16. So on an average from the Indian polity and governance, we see 15 to 20 questions being asked. That means in the prelims examination, these questions will carry approximately 30 to 40 marks. The same weightage is of Indian polity and governance, where in the GS paper 2 you find Indian polity as a part of the major portion. Indian polity is also important from the essay point of view, and in the ethics and integrity also you need to know about the constitution so that you understand the constitutional monarchy. Now when you see these 30 to 40 questions, these are not the only marks that you gain in the Indian polity and governance, you also tend to lose a lot of marks in this topic, because the types of questions that Indian polity and governance topic cater to, these topics are very much used in the common parlance. In the common parlance, you hear the words rights, you hear the word prime minister, you hear the word president, and that tend to make you attempt to those questions. And that is why in this topic, most of the questions, they will let you have the negative marking. So today we will study in this manner so that you understand the nuances of the subject and you understand that how to approach for this subject. So today, as a very simple topic, I will be dealing with the basics of the Indian Constitution. A very simple yet very important topic. Basics of the Indian Constitution. Now, before we begin, let us understand what is the Constitution of India. The Constitution of India is the supreme law of the country. It is the basic law on the basis of which every law, ordinance, regulations, rules, delegated legislation, everything is done on the basis of the Constitution of India. It is also the supreme law. That means the law that is providing you the most important principles, and it is providing you the guidance that how a country should be governed. That is why this document, this holy document, provides us the fundamental political code, structure, procedures and powers and duties of the government. Not only to this, it also provides the rights that the citizens of India have. It also provides the rights and the powers that the states in this country have. It also provides the duties that the citizens they have towards the nation. So it is the most important document if you can find anywhere in this country. So the Constitution of India is something that we need to understand very clearly. Now, Constitution of India, it was not made in a day. Constitution was made through a constituent assembly. The Constituent Assembly was set up on the recommendation of the Cabinet Mission Plan. This plan in the year 1946 provided for the Constituent Assembly, which Constituent Assembly, after a hard work of 2 years, 11 months and 18 days, 2 years, 11 months and 18 days, gave us this Constitution of India. Now, Constitution of India is the lengthiest written constitution in the world. Now, you must be wondering why I am saying that it is written. All the constitutions are written, but no, this is not the reality. Not all the constitutions of the world are written. There are certain constitutions like the Constitution of United Kingdom, the Constitution of New Zealand, the Constitution of Israel, which are unwritten. So, Indian Constitution is the lengthiest written constitution in the world, and it consists of the following parts. It consists of a preamble, it consists of the articles that are divided into parts, it consists of certain schedules, and it consists of certain amendments. Now, there is a difference between the original constitution and the constitution that we have at this moment. The original constitution had a preamble, it had 395 articles that were divided into 22 parts, and it had 8 schedules. Now, the basic question is, what is this? What are the preamble? What are the parts? What are the articles? So, in order to understand what is the difference between the original and the present constitution, let us first understand what are these terms. What is a part? What is a preamble? What is an article? And what are the schedules? Now, have you ever read a book? When you start reading a book, in the book there is the first page. The first page, which is giving you a type of introduction to that book. Preamble is the same thing. Preamble is like the identity card of the constitution. Preamble is like the portion that represents the mind of the makers of the constitution. So, preamble, for your understanding, just understand as the first page of our constitution that represents the identity, that what kind of country India is, who are the source of authority, what are the objectives of this constitution, and on which date this constitution was finally adopted. Then, when you open a book, you see book is divided from page number 1, let us say it is a book of 500 pages. So, page number 1 to page number 500. But that book is divided into various chapters, so that you understand that book clearly. So, when you look at the pages, that is the articles, that the constitution is divided into various articles, and for your convenience, as a person who is reading that constitution is having articles divided into parts. For example, you want to read about the fundamental rights. So, you will go to the chapter of the fundamental rights, which is in the part 3. In this third chapter, you will find the fundamental rights from article 12 to article 35. So, the main content of the constitution is in the articles, but for the understanding of the reader, they are divided into various parts. Schedules are the factual information. For example, you need to know how many states and union territories are there in India. Now, what will you do? You will go either to the article or the part 1 of the constitution, which mentions about the union and its territory. But when you want to know the names of those states, the population, the area, and the other information about the union and its territory, then you will go to the schedules. So, schedule 1 will give you certain factual information. Schedule 2 will give you certain factual information. Similarly, other schedules will give you factual information. For example, you need to know on what topics the parliament can do its work. So, you go to schedule 11. So, schedule 11 consists of the factual information. Now, the constitution was ready and it was adopted on 26th of November 1949. Then it was finally enforced on 26th of January 1950, and from that day till now it is approximately 72 years that we have completed. Among these 72 years, so many things they need to be changed. So many things need to be adopted. For that, the Constitution has certain amendments. In the Constitution, you have certain changes that have been brought, and these changes are called as amendments. So now you know that preamble is the identity card. The main content is the articles, which are divided into various parts. The schedules provides you the factual information, and the amendments are the changes that are done in the Constitution. When we know these basics, let us now understand what is the difference between the original Constitution and the present Constitution. So in the original Constitution there was one preamble. At present also we have one preamble. The original Constitution had 395 articles. At present there are approximately 448 articles. It varies because time and again there are certain changes, certain articles are repealed, certain articles are added. So approximately 448 to 460 articles are there in the Constitution. UPSC does not ask the number of articles, so you do not need to worry about the fact. Now the original Constitution had 22 parts, the present Constitution have 25 parts. The original Constitution had 8 schedules, the present Constitution have 12 schedules. Original Constitution was original, no amendments, and the present Constitution have 105 amendments. The latest is 105th amendment. So this is the evolution of the Constitution that we have to understand in detail now. We know there is a preamble. Preamble is representing the identity of the Constitution. Now the preamble is the part which is adopted after the completion of Constitution. So unlike the United States of America, in the USA the preamble was adopted first and then the Constitution was written. In India the whole Constitution was completed and then we got the preamble. Okay. Preamble was introduced in the Constitution by the objectives of resolution. Objectives of resolution were introduced in the Constituent Assembly, through which the ideas that are in the present preamble were introduced. So this is the basic understanding of preamble. Then the original Constitution had 395 articles. Now those articles have increased time and again, but remember the last article is 395 only. The last article, when you go through the Constitution, you will find 395. The articles are added in between. For example, Article 21A was added, Article 31A was added, Article 31B was added. So in this manner the articles are added in the Constitution, but the last article remains the Article 395. Now when we understand the parts, the original Constitution have 22 parts and the present Constitution have 25 parts. Does that mean how many new parts are added in the Constitution? So you will say it's simple maths. 25 minus 22, it's 3. But then your answer will be wrong because it is not mathematics, it is Indian polity. It does not work on the basis of mathematics. The new parts in the Constitution which are added are 5 parts, in which 2 parts are also repealed. The 2 parts are repealed. First is the part 7 of the Indian Constitution that dealt with the part B states, and there was part 9 that have been later on given to the panchayats. So at present 25 parts. Introduced the Constitution originally had 22 parts. The new parts are 5. The repealed are 2. Now what are the new parts that are added in the constitution? These new parts are part 4A. Part 4A was added as a fundamental duty. Fundamental duty was added through the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act in the year 1976. The second is Part 9. Part 9 was added as the panchayats. It was added through the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. Then there was Part 9A, municipality. Municipality was added through the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. Then there was Part 9B. It was added through the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act 2011. And then there was Part 14A, which was added as tribunals from the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. These are the parts that have been added, and these are the amendments through which they were added. Now similarly, we will go to the topic of understanding the schedules of the constitution. So originally the constitution had 8 schedules, but at present the Constitution of India have 12 schedules. It means the new schedules that are added are 4. Here none of the schedule is repealed. The original constitution schedule are also there, and the new schedules are also there in the constitution. Now the new schedules that are added are 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. The 9th schedule was added through the First Amendment Act of the Constitution. The 9th schedule, what it deals with, we will be discussing all the schedules together because it is important and UPSC have asked questions from that. But just remember now that 9th schedule was added through First Amendment Act in the year 1951. Then 10th schedule was added through the 52nd Amendment Act 1985. Third schedule, that is the 11th schedule, was added through the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, and 74th or 12th schedule was added through the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So these are the 4 new schedules that were added in the constitution, and this makes the number of schedule in the constitution to 12. Now UPSC has asked questions from the schedules of the constitution, and that is why I am telling you how to remember these schedules. This is a method that the students of the UPSC preparation or other preparation, while doing the Indian Polity and Governance, they read and revise, but this is not something I have made. I am using it to explaining it to you, and this is a wonderful idea that through this acronym Tiers of Old PM, Tiers of Old PM, you can remember all the 12 schedule of the Indian Constitution. Have a look at this, that Tiers of Old PM is providing you all the schedules of the Constitution, where T in the first schedule tells you about the Union and its territory. Schedule 1, Union and its territory, what is there mentioned in the territory of India, what comes in the Union of India. Then the second talks about the salaries and emoluments. E represents emoluments, salaries and emoluments is given under the second schedule. Then third is represented by the oath and affirmations. The oath that the people who are coming to the constitutional post, they take before entering the office, are mentioned under the schedule 3. Schedule 4 represents the seats that are allocated to Rajya Sabha. Schedule 5, that is S, it represents the scheduled areas that are there in the country. O in this represents the 6th schedule, that includes the other scheduled areas that are important for the protection of the tribal population. Then comes the F, that is the 7th schedule, that represents the federal structure. This represents that how many lists are there in the country, how the union list, state list and concurrent list are made, and what are the matters of the state list, union list and concurrent list are. That is mentioned in the 7th schedule. Then the 8th schedule talks about the official languages. There are 22 official languages in our country, which are mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Constitution of India. Then 9th schedule, which was added through the first Constitutional Amendment Act, it deals with the land reforms. It deals with certain laws that are made for the acquisition of land, that are laws that are made for the sealing of land, and the laws that are made for bringing the land reforms. That is there in the 9th schedule. 10th schedule was added through 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act, which provides the ideas related to anti-defection. Defection means when a person from a political party joins another political party for the sake of certain ministership or some power. Similarly, if an independent member joins any political party, that is called as defection. That has been represented by a politician from a particular state leaving and joining 3 political parties in a single day. That is represented by the term Ayaram and Gayaram. So that was the defection. To stop this defection, the 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act brought the anti-defection law in the year 1985. Then in the 11th schedule, the panchayats are mentioned, that on what basis, on what parameters the panchayats can have its powers and functions, that are mentioned in the 11th schedule. That was added through 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. Then it is mentioned in the 12th schedule that on what basis, on what purposes, on what parameters the municipalities can make their functions better and efficient. So these are mentioned in the 12th schedule that are dealing with the municipalities, and it was added through 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So these are the mentioning of the schedules of the Indian Constitution. Now, when you have understood the schedules, here comes the amendments to the Constitution of India. The latest amendment is 105th Constitutional Amendment Act. This is the amendment that is providing the states to decide their own list of socially and educationally backward classes. So it is giving the powers to the state to decide their own list, the state list of the socially and educationally backward classes. Before that, there was 104 Constitutional Amendment Act that deals with the reservation of seats for Anglo-Indians and the seats for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe candidates in Lok Sabha and state assemblies. In scheduled caste and scheduled tribe in Lok Sabha and state legislative assembly. Similarly, 103 dealt with the economically weaker section reservation. 102 dealt with the constitutional position for National Commission for Backward Classes and henceforth. So these are the latest amendments that are there in the Indian Constitution. So now, as a student of Indian polity, you know what is a preamble. You know how many parts are there, and in those parts how many articles are mentioned. You know how many schedules are there in the Constitution, and you also know how many amendments are there. Along with this, you can have a comparative analysis of the original Constitution and the present Constitution and how much the Constitution has evolved. When you know all these basics, now you are in a position to understand some of the basic or the salient features of the Constitution of India. Now, as I have mentioned before, the Constitution of India is the lengthiest written constitution in the world. Why written? Because other constitutions are also there which are unwritten. Next, this constitution is not only made from the Constituent Assembly, rather it is inspired from various constitutions also. So the Constituent Assembly, they sat, they deliberated, and they gave us this constitution by taking various things from various countries. For example, from UK we have parliamentary democracy. From USA we have independent judiciary. from USA we have fundamental rights that the USA calls as Bill of Rights. We call it fundamental rights, USA call it as Bill of Rights. Similarly, from USSR we adopted the concept of fundamental duties. So this is how the Constitution is inspired from various sources. Now, the parliamentary form of government is another feature of the Constitution because we have parliament at the union level. We have the same kind of governments and the government system at the state level. So we have a parliamentary form of government. We are a federal polity. Federal polity means the country is divided into various units for the administrative convenience that are called as the states. The states are also divided into certain small units in the form of districts. So we are a federal polity. In our country we also have independent judiciary. It means judiciary is not dependent upon the executive and legislature. At the same time we have integrated judiciary. It means Supreme Court, High Court and subordinate courts, they are not working in a vacuum, they are integrated with each other. We have a concept of single citizenship. It means if you are a citizen of India, you may be a resident of any region, but you will remain a citizen of India. In India, we also have the concept of fundamental rights, that you are a citizen or also an alien, you may have certain rights which are fundamental for your life and which are provided by the fundamental law of the land. Along with the fundamental rights, the Constitution provides certain directions, the directive principles to the government at the union so that they can work for the welfare of the people. That are the directive principles of state policy. The citizens are also provided certain duties in the form of fundamental duties. All the people who are above 18, they can participate in the very important and sacred festival of democracy because we have universal adult franchise. We have a system of panchayat and municipality which is nowhere in the world. So we have a third tier of government. We have independent institutions which are autonomous, like Election Commission of India, like the Comptroller and Auditor General. And the Constitution is not rigid. The Constitution allows amendments to itself, but the Constitution is not also very flexible because that Constitution amendment procedure has to be followed using certain types of majority, and these becomes the salient features of the Constitution of India. I hope you got some insights about the Constitution of India through this lecture, and I wish you all a best of luck. Thank you very much.